I'm sorry. Habargani. Here we go. Did you? Okay. Habargani. Nia. So Habargani means what's the news in Kiswahili, and the news is Nia. Purpose. I am so happy to have you all here with us here at Scarritt Bennett Center. I am Reverend Kelly X, the Director of Racial Justice Ministries, and it is my honor to welcome you here to this historic campus for this amazing night for Kwanzaa here at Kwanzaa, Nashville. And before I go any further, I am going to need permission from the elder, and I believe the oldest elder in the house is probably about 93 years old. No, that's right. Oh, she's standing up for you. May I have permission to proceed? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Everything we do here, we recognize that we come honoring our ancestors, remembering our ancestors, honoring our elders in order to prepare a way for our future. And so on today, Nia, purpose. I want to just frame for you all what I really wanted for tonight. Tonight will be an opportunity for both conversation for the adults and for exploration for the children. And so as we think about purpose, oftentimes we think about it on an individual way. What is my purpose? What am I supposed to do? But when it comes to Nia, as defined by the founder of Kwanzaa, Dr. Karinga, it's about our collective vocation. And our collectively, how do we restore our people? How do we restore our community to traditional greatness? And we're going to have a conversation about that. And we'll talk about this, the beauty of what it means to have black excellence. Come on, you know, brown skin, popping, cute clothes, hair all curly or straight, because you know we can do straight, curly, short, long, locked, finger waved. Sometimes in the 90s, we did all three in one. We had some finger waves. Did all the things, right? Okay. And while the guys had the box, the dummies and the steps and all the lines, all the things. Yes, Miss Neely. And so that thing, but also recognizing sometimes our desires for excellence also can feel like the need for perfection. The need to be the black representative at all times to make sure that no one can ever say anything bad about black folks. So I have to be perfect. And in our perfection, how it can break our spirits down. So we'll have that conversation. But I'm going to lift back up right now. Hey. And so before we go any further, I want to bring up my husband. He's cute. Rico X, so that he can lead us in libations.
Habargani. So it is a core principle within African culture across the continent that there's a power, there's an importance of remembrance. And there's a concept, there's a West African concept called Sankofa. Everyone say Sankofa, which means go back and fetch it. And the importance of that principle just simply means that in order to understand your present, you have to remember. You have to reflect on your past, as well as to understand the possibilities of the future. And so the ritual of libation provides just an opportunity for us to create space to remember what the Creator has done by placing people in our midst. And it is done by symbolically pouring water into a plant which represents life. And the pouring also symbolizes how those ancestors, those that have passed on before us, have poured into us. So I think about someone like Maddie Louise Holt. I didn't really meet her, but I know her through Sister Marquita. And so in this ritual, we call out the names of those ancestors, and we respond by saying Ashe, which means it is so, it is done. And so at this time, let us create that space and call out the names of ancestors that have poured into us. Ashe. 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 Yes. Ashe. 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 Thanking the Creator for what the Creator has done. Ashe. Ashe. Asheo. It is done.
We need a mic. Habaragani. We're call and response African people. Habaragani. We done got to this fifth night. I know you're tired, but we are so thankful and looking forward to the night of purpose. My name is Marquita Afote, also known as Marquita Holt, also known as small. Charlie is small. And I am a co-founder. I am a director of admissions and marketing at Nia House Montessori School. And I'm going to let Miss Neely for Kuji Chakali, I'm going to let her introduce herself.
Habarigani. Yes, hello, I'm Darlene Abernathy Neely, and I am so glad to spend this night of purpose with you. From Nia House Montessori, we are going into our 10th year next year of existence. And so we could not have done it without our village, without our community. We know that the story is that Nia House was actually birthed during Kwanzaa in Maria Hall's home when our director, Sanseria Rafford, spoke it and said in the group, there will be a school. Right. And from that point, the village embraced her, supported her, encouraged her, and pushed her. And the vision came to be, and we came together. And so we are working in the community, teaching our children, loving each day. And so we are excited to be with you tonight, but especially to be with you and you and you and you who are our children. And so we look forward to taking our children up with us upstairs, and we'll do some crafts. But first we need to talk about our Kanara. So if you are a young one, please come down to the front for me.
Don't pay any of your bills.
If you don't pay bills. Now the big kids had to even get up, didn't they? Come on, tell the truth. Okay. Tell the truth. All right, so if you'll come down, and if you don't mind, if you will sit here. I know you still have young legs. In Montessori, we crisscross each day. So we look this way, turn this way for me. I want you to see what we're doing, and I'll need some participants. We always, at Nia House, we're going to always use your gifts and talents, right? So we will start tonight, and what I want you to do, I'm going to ask for some volunteers to help me. We are going to light our Kanara. So we know there are 7 principles of Kwanzaa, yes? So you're going to help me tonight. We're going to name them. So our first night, who knows our first night? What is the first night called? I'm going to go over to my black candle. Who can help me? All right, help me out.
Ujama.
Umoja. You close. I'm glad you're working with me. Yeah, so Umoja is unity. Can you all say unity? Unity, and success starts here with you. We have unity of our family, unity of our community, and unity in our nation we're praying for. So we're going to light our first candle. Will you come and help me? Will you stand in front of our black candle? I'm going to do a little bit of magic here. If I can. Did it come on? All right, thank you. Come on back. Yeah, so that is our first night, and that is on December the 26th. The next night, I love to say, who knows the second night of Kwanzaa? Does anybody know? It's a pretty big word, Kuji Chakalia. Can you say that? Oh, no, we have to do better. Kuji Chakalia. And it means self-determination. We are responsible for ourselves and our actions. Self-determination. Can I have a volunteer to come stand at my first red candle? Come on. Yeah, come on. Come on, Montessori family. Okay, so you're going to come stand here. We're going to light our... All right, it's lit. Thank you. So that's our second night. Our third night, anybody know? Okay, come on.
Ujima.
Ujima, come on. Ujima is collective work and responsibility. We work together to build our community. Come on up for me. You're going to come over to our first green candle. You ready? All right, come on with it. All right, we're ready for our fourth candle. Anybody know that one? Uh-oh.
Kaumba.
You know your days, but this one before that is
Nia.
Today is Nia. You're close. You said it, I think.
Ujoma.
Say it again.
Ujoma.
All right. It is collective economics or economics. And so if you were with us last night, and I know you all were, we were shopping and buying and sharing with Black businesses. So collective economics. Come on up. I'm sorry, cooperative economics. You gonna come up again? All right. So we're gonna go here. Can you turn around? All right. You did it again. Okay. All right, our next one, you said it for me a minute ago. What's tonight?
Nia.
Nia, come on up. So we're going to go over here. And Nia is purpose. All right. So Nia, so when we started our school, Nia House, we thought of purpose. Purpose. Thank you, friend. All right. I love it. So Nia, we're responsible to those who came before us and those who will follow. We are a great people. Our next one, a friend said this earlier, starts with a K. Somebody I had,
Kaumba.
All right. It's creativity. We use our creativity and our imagination to make our community better. Now, since you've lit one, let's get another friend. Can you come help me? Okay. So remember, we did our Black candle. We're going over. Come all the way over. All right, you ready? And you did it. Thank you. All right. So that was creativity. Our next one is, does anybody know the next one? We've gone through, we're now ready, we lit here, we're going all the way, we're on our last day. What do you think?
Imani is rank.
Imani is faith. Imani is faith, yes. We believe in our people, our families, our teachers, and our leaders. We have faith. Can you come help me? Come on. You stand here. Let's see what happens. Come on, Faith. All right. So I'm excited because we're going to go upstairs and learn some more. I can tell you all are ready to learn. At Nia House, we talk about curious, joyful, independent thinkers. And I can tell that's who we have. So if you are 3 to 12, we said, but I know we have some friends that are a little older that may want to come with us also. We'll welcome all. We're going to exit if parents are okay with that. We're going to take you with us, and we're going to head out where you see Miss Holt. So if you can line up, we're going to go have some fun and learn more about Kwanzaa. Thank you, beautiful children. Look at all that purpose. Yes.
Yeah. Go with the babies.
Yeah, that's that husband and wife stuff. Teamwork making the dream work. Habaragani, everyone. Yes, yes. So the purpose for us tonight is to talk about our beauty and the burden of our excellence, our Black excellence, as Reverend Kelly X just spoke about. So my purpose is to introduce these amazing Black and brown people, our community leaders who are going to sit on this panel with us tonight. And when I tell you the burden of reading their bios to y'all, Jesus. These bios are long because they've done a lot of great purposeful work in our community. So forgive me in advance because I had to chop them down, or else we would be here all night because they have done mighty, mighty work. So first I'm going to start off with Judge Rachel L. Bell. Who doesn't know Judge Rachel L. Bell? Give Judge Rachel Bell a hand clap of praise. Judge Rachel Bell is the General Sessions Court Judge, Division 8, Music City Community Court and Metropolitan Nashville, Davidson County. Judge Bell was elected General Sessions Court Judge, Division 8 in 2012, and unanimously re-elected in 2014 to another term. Shortly after taking the bench, Judge Bell started working on pilot projects to establish the General Sessions Music City Community Court with a mission to focus on preventative, diversionary, and restorative justice initiatives to move the needle for marginalized people. In 2019, she created the CARE, which stands for Creating Avenues for Restoration and Empowerment, diversionary court for nonviolent offenders that are age 18 to 30. In 2021, amid the COVID-19 pandemic, Judge Bell launched the Legacy, which means let every goal achieve continuous yields. Housing Resource Diversionary Court and Program. Legacy provides tools to support and foster mutual trust between landlords and tenants while seeking funding through the U.S. Treasury Emergency Rental Assistance Program and funding through the Metro Action Commission's HOPE program to pay arrears and avoid possible eviction. Throughout her personal and professional life, Judge Bell has engaged as a member of many community organizations and served on numerous boards. She is also the proud founder of the Ring the Bell Foundation, Inc., and is the co-founder and board chair and president for the Bordeaux North Nashville Chamber of Commerce. Judge Bell is a third-generation native Nashvilleian who currently resides with her wife, Dr. Dorsha, who is there in the audience with her, an emergency medicine physician. She graduated from Hillsborough High School. I graduated from Whites Creek, but we're not going to talk about that, and received an NCAA Division I women's basketball scholarship to Auburn University, winning an SEC tournament championship, and finished her collegiate career at the University of Memphis, participating in the Final Four with the WNIT and earning a Bachelor's of Science in Education and a Juris Doctorate from Cecil C. Humphrey School of Law. Prior to her election to the court, Judge Bell was the managing partner of Bell & Kinslow PLLC and founder and COO of Pinnacle Title and Escrow. To learn more about Judge Bell, because her resume is extensive, please visit www.judgerachelbell.com. Come on up to the stage, Judge And next, we have Mr. Patrick Daly. Patrick has been described as possessing a powerful and elegant countertenor voice by Los Angeles Daily News and a vocal standout by Boston Classical Review. His artistry was identified early through the National NAACP AXO competition in 2005 and 2006 and the NFAA Arts and Grady Ryman Prize in Sacred Music for the Negro Spiritual Scholarship Foundation. Daly made his professional operatic debut with Opera Saratoga as the first countertenor member of the company's Young Artist Program and was the first countertenor to the Opera New Jersey Victoria Emerging Artist Program. On January 19th of 2009, Mr. Daly sang a featured duet with none other than Aretha Franklin as the finale for the annual Let Freedom Ring celebration at the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. Additionally, he has been a featured artist with Cook, Dixon, and Young, formerly Three Mo Tenors, since 2012. Mr. Daly is featured in Fatherhood, a documentary directed by award-winning London-based director Ben Gregor, which premiered on Fuse TV in 2019. He is also featured on recording projects such as the debut album of acclaimed duo and super producers Louis York, which is Chuck Harmony and Claude Kelly, American Griot in 2019, and Adrian Dunn's Redemption Live in Chicago in 2020. Most recently, Mr. Daly was featured on season 17 of America's Got Talent with Metaphysics as the operatic singing voice of Terry Crews in a performance Simon Cowell referred to as the best of the series. Growing in his reputation as a scholar, Mr. Daly was invited to the Center for Black Music Research's inaugural Black Vocality Symposium in 2013, giving a performative presentation entitled The Anatomy of the Black Voice, Peculiarities, Challenges, and Regional Differences. Since that time, he has been artist-in-residence, masterclass clinician, and guest lecturer at Southern University, Prairie View A&M University, the University of Arkansas, New England Conservatory, and Vanderbilt, among others. Mr. Daly was lead vocalist and vocal music curator of the official MLK 50 commemorative and the National Civil Rights Museum in 2018 in Memphis, Tennessee. He is a 2012 graduate of Morgan State University. I was a Fisk University graduate, but we ain't gonna talk about that. I mean, we just throwing it in there. And received his Master's of Music from Boston University. Yes. He currently serves on the voice faculty of Tennessee State University, where he established the Big Blue Opera Initiatives and the annual Harry T. Burleigh Spiritual Festival. Additionally, he is the founding artistic director of the W. Krim Singers, the AKA Wakanda Chorale, professional ensemble in residence, and is co-founding member of the historically informed progressive crossover ensemble Early Music City. Mr. Daly was also named in 2020 as the 2020 class of Nashville Black 40 Under 40 and was recognized for outstanding service from the Coalition of African Americans in the Performing Arts of Washington, D.C. To learn more about Mr. Daly, because his resume is extensive. He had 3 pages that I just cut down to about 3 paragraphs. So to learn more about him, visit patrickdalyct.com. Come on up to the stage, Patrick. And next we have Jamel Campbell Gooch. He is also from Nashville, Tennessee, specifically the 37208. I grew up in 37288 and 37218. Yes, which was, Bordeaux, North Nashville, North, which was deemed the highest incarcerated zip code in the country by the Brookings Institute. In 2015, Campbell Gooch graduated from Tennessee State University, where he dedicated his studies to researching his family lineage. 2 years of research landed him in two places. The first place was the Hermitage Plantation, owned by 7th President of the United States, Andrew Jackson, and Goodland Goochland Plantation, owned by John Claiborne Gooch, the first son of Sir William Gooch, founder of Goochland, Virginia. Campbell Gooch found that these men and their descendants enslaved his ancestors, a legacy that has had repercussion for both families. Jamel's first ancestors arrived in the Carolina Territory, now Middle Tennessee, in 1794, 2 years before Tennessee became a state. His ancestors were brought to this country simultaneously as many other prominent families that dominate the economic landscape of both Tennessee, the South, the United States, and the world. Still, their material conditions and wealth are incomparable. Learning that his family has been on this land for more than 300 years gave Campbell Gooch an orientation towards a movement to build power by organizing his family and community for a future they are truly free to live beautiful and promising lives. After graduating from Tennessee State, Jamel began working in the social justice sector of the nonprofit industry and closely with the community. During the day, he worked at a public high school, Pearl Cone High School, and Campbell Gooch held peace circles with students who experienced the highest suspension rates as a form of violence prevention and restorative justice. After school, he worked with elementary and middle schoolers at Inslee Community Center. Both the teenagers of Pearl Cone and the children of Easley Community Center dealt with poverty and targeted policing, which produced a destructive environment. Working with Black young people in neighborhoods that are over-policed and under-invested led him to conclude that the only thing that would change the conditions is organization. From there, he dedicated his time to organizing the community around violence interruption as a viable alternative to police work and to gain investment in public goods while divesting from cops, courts, and cages. Jamel unapologetically believes in a future with participatory governance and restorative forms of accountability, a future where housing, health, and education are fully funded. He organizes for transformative political power with the Black National Assembly and fights for dignified housing, education, jobs, community-led public safety, and the guaranteed basic income via the city budget. He works along many gifted and talented organizers across Nashville, and he is an organizing power, and his organizing power is a testament to the collaboration trust others have in him. So welcome, Jamel Campbell Gooch. Last but certainly not least, one of my friends, my sorority sister too, Ms. Jahari Matthews, who serves as the Director of Programs with the Tennessee Titans, overseeing the restructuring and advancements of the Titans Foundation, a role that was recently established by the Titans. This role serves as the primary liaison for community partnerships, neighborhood and community stakeholders, and external affairs. In addition, this role focuses heavily on all efforts surrounding the development of community programs and initiatives across Middle Tennessee through a newly launched platform known as One Community. Prior to joining the Titans, Jahari served as the executive director of the Northwest Family YMCA. During her tenure, she was recognized for her collaborative work with the Blue Cross Blue Shield Foundation as they opened the first of its kind $6.5 million state-of-the-art inclusive Blue Cross Blue Shield Healthy Park Place on the grounds. A graduate of Tennessee State University, receiving her bachelor's in psychology, she has spent 18 plus years in the nonprofit and community engagement sector. In her personal endeavors, she serves on various boards and communities, including Corner to Corner, the YMCA of Middle Tennessee, HBCU Alliance, Rotary Club of Nashville, and the Community Foundation's Women's Fund. She is a member of the Junior League of Nashville and Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. In 2020, she was named by the Nashville Business Journal as one of Nashville's top 40 Under 40 and has participated in leadership programs such as New Leaders Council and CEO Connect at Lipscomb University. She, too, is a Nashville native, and she and her husband, right here, everybody knows her hubby, wave your hand, reside in the historic Bordeaux community with their 2 amazing kids. And then we have our very own of Scarritt Bennett Center's Kelly X, who will be the moderator for this great panel discussion. Kelly is the pastor of the Village Church, an African-centered Christian church, Disciples of Christ congregation in Madison, Tennessee, and she is the director of racial justice ministry here at Scarritt Bennett Center. Reverend X grew up on the south side of Chicago and attended Tennessee State University, where she earned a bachelor's of science in psychology in 2002. Reverend X became an active member of the Village Church in 1999, and it was the first community of faith she encountered that celebrated its African heritage while loving Jesus and actively answering God's call to fight for justice for all of God's creation. After nearly a decade of working with children and families living with mental illness and maneuvering the foster care system, Reverend X stepped deeper into her call to ministry by attending Vanderbilt University Divinity School, where she earned a Master's of Divinity in 2012. Moved by Psalms 150 and Romans 12:1, Reverend X has dedicated her life and inspires her congregation to live lives of worship of God and service to the world. Reverend X is committed to speaking truth to power and coalition building. She has partnered throughout her ministry with organizations such as NOAH, Planned Parenthood, Moral Movement Tennessee, the Southern Christian Coalition, Protect Our Care, New Leaders Council, Fellowship for Disciples Clergywomen, Christian Church Disciples of Christ in Tennessee as their regional board second VP moderator, and to seek justice for all God's children. In 2019, Reverend X began her exploration, a long-seated interest chaplaincy, which culminated in being a member of the Vanderbilt University's Medical Center's inaugural cohort of chaplain residents. Reverend X combines her commitment to justice with her gift of chaplaincy as the director of racial justice ministry at Scarritt Bennett Center. She also creates brave space for people and organizations to cultivate tools to dismantle the system of white supremacy in the world, the church, and in themselves. Reverend X has been married to Rico X, who we heard from earlier, for 20 years almost. That's a long time. That's why they was able to move this real easy, because that takes 20 years of working together on purpose. Together, they share 2 amazing children, Kajani and say your name, because I don't want to mess it up. Asati Ra, who are there in the audience, going to be proud of their mommy and their daddy. So this is our panel. Come on up, Kelly. Give a hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Janine. I appreciate it. This is our director of marketing and sales. I'm sorry. Here at Scarritt Bennett Center. She's amazing. She does the great things. Thank you for. I needed extra. I had to think on that one. Yes. Yeah, I was like, I got you. I'm so thankful for you all to be here. I'm thankful for y'all to be here. So we know why I asked, y'all know why I asked them for this conversation. I feel too close up. There we go. Okay, because I need to, that's what the rug, we in the living room, we at the house. Okay. And so I began to talk about this idea of beauty and burden of Black excellence. And that in the midst of doing and showing up as our best, we can be sometimes overly concerned about an external judgment as opposed to a sense of reflecting the internal goodness. So, and I'm a pastor, so that goodness for me centers in Genesis 1, when God created everything and said, let us make humanity in our image. And that while each day at the end of those days, in that first creation story in Genesis, this too, but at each day, God says that's good. But when humanity is made, God says that's very good. So that means that there is innate goodness within each and every person on this planet. But that goodness is not perfection. We're called to be good, not perfect. But we live in a white supremacist world that tells us that in order to be conceived as human, we must be perfect. So, that being said, my question that I want to first ask you all is, how would you all define Black excellence? There are microphones there. Anyone? Y'all can go.
I don't mind. I'll start. I think what I define as Black excellence is definitely like in my organizing work. I think we all know that feeling when Black folks get together, we start talking about our issues, analyzing our problems, but also coming up with our solutions, and really start to develop and lay foundations for like what we can do to see ourselves in the future. The same thing that tells us that we need to be perfect in white supremacy, colonialism, and those things that tear us down are the same things that tell us that we don't have a future. And so my Black excellence is definitely tied to my organizing work with Black people and being unapologetically with Black people and extending my grace to Black people. That's what I would define as my Black excellence. Because I think like when we talk about Black excellence, a lot of the times what takes forefront is a centering towards whiteness, right? We think about Black excellence in the imagination of white supremacy. And what I want to do is think about Black excellence amongst Black people who are also working to get outside of the boundaries of the imagination of white supremacy.
Okay. I wouldn't disagree with what he said. I would add to what I've seen over the years, and I was talking to my wife earlier that I'm the oldest one on the panel today, so I got a little bit more experience. However, that doesn't mean that it's not all relevant. But what I've seen in my life and watching leaders that normally this panel would be 69 plus years old, that's true, and we would be listening to them and the audience would be more 69 plus years old, and a few 40-year-old or 30-year-old individuals would be in the room. But I am excited, and I want to tell you I am excited to see that the room is very diverse, and there are a lot of 30 to 50-year-olds here, and there are some seniors, and I love seniors because we learn from you. But I was very excited to see this panel was a little different than what I grew up with. So thank you for putting this young panel together that is working in leadership. But to me, Black excellence, because I've watched Nashville, I'm a fourth generation native Nashvilleian, and I've watched Black excellence and what I thought was Black excellence for a long time. And you see some people that have a seat at the table, and they actually speak up with their seat, and they come back to community, and then they continue to work with community, and they show up as they need to show up. So I show up in different ways. I show up with pearls sometimes, I show up with a dress sometimes, I show up with some tennis shoes sometimes, I show up with some J's sometimes, I show up with some Converse sometimes, I show up a little dirty, clean up the street sometimes, I show up whichever way I show up. But when I have a seat at that table, rest assured that your vote and your voice is being heard, and it's also being implemented, and it's also being manifested. In doing that, I believe that you're able to listen to community and bring something back to community in the sector and the purpose of which I have. So I believe Black excellence is when you get an opportunity to stand in the place of your purpose, that you are doing what is needed for your people. And yes, my people come from my heritage, that's right? And I was reading something with James Baldwin earlier, and he said, he got lucky, he had a triple threat. And so with me being the first African or, openly gay judge in the state of Tennessee, I know when I have a seat at the table, I also have to represent that, right? I have to represent female, I have to represent Black. And so I believe when Black excellence to me is when you have a seat at the table, you use everything that you need to move the agenda forward, and it should only really be for marginalized people. You don't really need to move an agenda for people that already got it all together. However, those people that have it together need to come together for the people that don't. All right.
Ooh, okay. Y'all dropping gems. I will say, I mean, it's interesting, Jamel, that you bring this when you talked about excellence, because I have been having this concept of black excellence, because I've been kind of like working through it a little bit differently lately. You're going to be hearing me like reference a lot of people and a lot of things in like the Africana status community I'm in, called Narrative and Nubia. If you know about that, it's Narrative with a K, Nubia with a K. We've been doing a lot of talking, and one of our leaders is actually Dr. Greg Carr, native Nashvilleian, and he talked about, this. Everybody wants to say black excellence, and it's like, but you have to, but excellence is a thing. So now when you put black on it, now that's the descriptive. So what is the default for? So excellence is white then, huh? So now with black, okay. So I've been kind of like sussing through this, like, what is that? What's that mean, right? I'll use another anecdote. I like to use anecdotes. I was offered a contract for this early music group out of DC, and they wanted me it was the Monteverdi Vespers. And one of the pieces one of the solo lines is called, the piece is called Nigra Sum in Latin. And basically it's sort of like translated, if I'm not mistaken, it uses some biblical text, I can't remember exactly where, but it sort of says, I am black but beautiful.
Oh, that is out of
Songs, right? Right, okay, that's what I was about.
It doesn't say but.
It's like,
It doesn't say but in the scripture.
right, but this is the thing. Monteverdi, Claudio Monteverdi, Italian composer. This is before the transatlantic slave trade, so I want to say like he might be 15 something in the years. I should know this. I sing early music, but I don't really care about these old dead white men. I just sing the stuff. I get the gigs. I do it excellently, and then they keep calling me, so I keep getting paid. So because I get paid, this is a part of it. I keep going in. I get the check. I do the thing right. So they bring me back, so I keep getting paid, and then when I get paid, I get that. When I get that pay, make advancement and investment back into my community, and then I make sure other people come in, and then I keep siphoning off from you until we got it, and I ain't got to worry about you no more. That's a whole nother side. But they wanted it was black but beautiful, and I was like, yeah, I don't like that. It's black and actually further yet, I am black. I am beautiful because I'm black. So I walk into the room, sort of to what you were saying, Judge Bell, as a black, shamed and a loving man from Nashville, the great-grandson of I always do this. I'm the great-grandson of West Tennessee sharecroppers Mark Pearl and Daddy Fred Slocum. My mother came to Nashville in 1966 to attend then Tennessee A&I State University. I walk into the room with all of those identities, right? And I was speaking to a group of students at Suitland High School for the Center for the Visual Performing Arts earlier this year. And I was like, no, I walk into the room as my full self. And I expect, at least when I'm coming into the room to do a certain thing, that I would be acknowledged and I would be fully seen because I deserve to be. And they were like, well, how do you feel? I was like, no. Now, I would say this. It takes a long time to get to that point. But I had to walk up to say, no. If I'm gonna stand up here to sing, if I'm gonna stand up here to speak, if I'm gonna stand up here to lecture, there's a reason why I'm here. So my very presence indicates that I am valuable. And to borrow from Maya Angelou, I come as one and stand as 10,000. So I'm not just coming in the room with me. I'm coming in the room with everybody in this room. I'm coming in the room with my students. I'm coming in the room with the future generations. I'm coming in the room with those ancestors whose names I know and whose names I don't know. Like, this idea of excellence, I think that we really have to, like, the goal should be that we're able to, again, that Kuji Chagalia, to the self-determined, to show up for ourselves, to speak for ourselves, to determine who we are. And then from there, build the world that we really want to see without fear. As Nina Simone said, like, what is freedom? No fear. So we are really, and I believe that black excellence, or this goal of excellence should be to get ourselves and our people to a place of freedom, which is no fear, no boundaries, no bounds, no limitations. Like people look at me like, oh, you're the first black opera singer I've met. Yeah, I'm sure. And I'm here to ensure that I'm not the last one that you meet. And also that there are mechanisms within our own community to where that is not uncommon and to where we have the infrastructure to continue to see all of the possibilities come from ourselves. Not that other people are excluded, but coming from ourselves.
Yeah, I agree with everything that has been said on this stage. I don't know if there's, too much more that I can add because there have been so many gems and jewels that have been dropped. I think, one thing that I'll just say to just wrap it up so we can move to the next question. But for me, I am excellent because I am Black, and that is something that I think oftentimes that we tend to forget or that we tend to negate when we talk about Black excellence, but we also tend to really, here lately, Black excellence has been very individualistic and very much about individual achievements. And that is where I kind of struggle. You talk about your struggles, but that's where I struggle because to me, Black excellence is about community. It's about an action. It's about lending itself to leadership and change and how you can impact your community going forward. And to really focus on letting your community know the endless amount of opportunities that they have for our young ones, for our seniors, and all in between. So I think getting past that individual achievement and really focusing Black excellence on more so community versus just one person.
Off your microphone. There you go. That's good, and that helps me to go to the next place. One of the things I'm always wanting to say it correctly or quote it. When Dr. Karinga defined Nia, the definition that he gave is to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. And so often when we think of purpose, especially post Rick Warren, it is, what is my purpose-driven life? What is that thing that I am supposed to do? And it's like you said, Jahari, very much so individualistically centered. But within the definition that Karinga gives us, it is about a community effort. It is about being able to understand, if anything individually, is what is the role that I am to play within the community that then allows for us to run. I can't stop but being churchy a little bit, but in that body of Christ, like this instance of like, everybody can't be a foot. Yeah. We can't all be feet. But also in the foot, you need a heel, you need the middle. Turns out I found out how important my big toe was when I messed up in the end of September, and that crack, and I had all the things, and learning how off balance my entire body was when I could not walk, and how long it took for me to get back there, and how with my left toe being messed up, that then my knee, because I'm also this 40s, so then that ankle to the knee to the hip to my back, how all of it gets just shifted off and doing all these other things. And so when we think about this, I got two things that are running. They're not good questions, I'm gonna be honest. But I got these two things, they're not quite questions yet, but these two things running about the role that we are to play as a community, to be a whole community, that we need to know that for ourselves and do that individually. But I'm also thinking about when we say traditional greatness, and I know these are two questions that are running at the same time, and I'm thinking about your brother Van Johnson. He gonna be like, why are you asking two questions at the same time? One of my members. But I also am interested in this instance of a traditional greatness when it comes to Blackness in a way that is different from, so I guess I am changing the question, from a make America great again notion, which is not the same thing. That this difference between having a strength and understanding of what is great, what is excellent, what is powerful, what is awesome, amazing, beautiful, and unbelievable about Blackness, that is different against a whiteness that says that it is supreme and above all other things, and everything below it must die. in that greatness. And I'm interested in how you all, as your individual, as grassroots organizer, as a man standing on stage singing in a soprano voice and a black man, I know it's a countertenor, but it's a soprano voice out of a black man body, right? You know what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? How that then does what it needs to do in the black community as an elected official who sits at a desk that then expunges records, not just for black folks, but for all folks. Because when we do for the least of these, we lift all of us up. And then to be the person who took the Y that they wanted to close. Took the Y that they wanted to close, the black Y. That's what it's called, the black Y. It's not the Y, it's the black Y. And became something that now everybody want, right? This is the thing. So what I'm saying is, in doing that, having that role in a way that greatness is brought together, that is not destructive, but is life-giving. And I'm interested in how you all do that in your life.
Yeah, yeah, because I like that because I think what I hear in the explanation of what Dr. Karenga, even if you agree with him or disagree with him, I think what he's trying to do in this moment is invite us back to our blackness. It invite us back to our tradition, which our tradition is not set in white supremacy. And I think when we start reaching back towards our tradition, I think as black folks we got to reconcile the institutions that were created in this country to harm us, right? Which Karenga is calling us before that. So before the creation of the prison industrial complex, before the creation of courts being used to house our bodies, before dilapidated schools, before the lack of public housing, what did our tradition call to us to share cooperatively? And I think what we got to struggle through is, in order to get to that before, we have to abolish it now. And I think that's the part that Karenga in this is calling us to do as far as a tradition. What does it look like? What did our communities have? What did our communities have before the prison industrial complex, which is an offshoot of slavery? How do we hold accountability in our communities without throwing each other in cages? I think that is the question. And I think there's a bit of struggling that we have to do as black folks together to really talk about what does it look like to abolish these institutions that were created to harm us. And no matter how bit of reform that we do, will continue to disproportionately harm and kill black people. So I think what Karenga is calling us to in this tradition of purpose is the calling back to our tradition and holding each other accountable in a way that does not throw each other away or throw each other in prisons or lock us in cages.
I'm just taking notes over here. So you started off with like the role, everything, like we all have a role, right? We all can't be the foot. We all can't be this part of the toe, the nail, all of that. We all can't be that. And I want to say it was John Henrik Clarke who said, what Africans have done, Africans can do. So if we have done as African people before the Great Interruption, before colonialism, if we have created language, math, science, art, structures that they still can't figure out how they were made. There's an obelisk. There's obelisk in Africa in Kemet, and it's out of one piece. There's one in this country, and you got to stack it up, and they can't do it. But they're civilized. But they came to. They only civilized. It was the white man's burden. How? Okay. So we all have to understand our roles, and like even when we look at it historically within African culture and also biblically. I even wrote about this when Dr. Paul Kwame made transition about the role of the chief musician. And when we look at the role of the chief musician, we see that biblically, right? Like there were these people who were groomed from an early age to do that role. They needed to go and play. They needed to prepare the things so that things could be prepared for worship, so that when the worship went forth, then there was a certain environment so that now the business could be taken care of. The other thing that also was a little different in the role of the chief musician and the art that's being made historically, for the most part, is that it's not tied to commerce and capitalism in the way that we see it today. So art is being made in a collective way where it's not like if I sing a song, I come up with a melody, I come up with a movement or such, I don't have to I don't have to, like back then I'm not having to own the masters. I don't have to go in here, put the paperwork down so I can make sure that you don't steal my stuff. Right? It's a different concept. So we have to ensure that, and my mother speaks about, she was an educator for about 40 years. And so she speaks about being, about the balance, right? The four-legged chair. And so my role in that is believing that, and helping our people to understand, our community to understand the role that the arts and the creative ventures in the arts can be a tool for economic development for us, right? As I tell my students in a music appreciation class, I always ask them I said, who likes classical music? And some people don't raise their hand. I'm like, who likes money? Everybody raise their hand. And when they raise their hands, I'm like, okay, if you go down to the Skirmerhorn here in this city, there are things named for different people. That means somebody gave some money. When they gave that money, that was written off. Carnegie Hall, Andrew Carnegie, captain of industry, also a brother of my fraternity, Phi Mu Alpha Symphony Fraternity of America. He wasn't no musician. Andrew Carnegie was a captain of industry, but he invested in a thing and different things all over Pittsburgh. You see it, right? And now things are named for you. So it's just helping us to understand, this is what can happen when we own when we have okay, that's one side. Two, in my work as a singer, and I think about as an opera singer, I'm gonna try to hit everything you brought up. As an opera singer, I try to I decenter again this Italian concept. So they're like, oh, opera's this European. No, the elements of what opera is are actually African. Every instrument that you have is the string instruments, of course, the percussion instrument, the piano itself, all have African bases. On top of that, the way in which opera, you have to sing, the mechanism to sing, to expand the breath, to engage the body, to open up the space, is how African people have been singing since the beginning of time. So when they talk about, this term of squillo and resonance and all of these other things, no, but we just open up our mouth and go. So that's why you can hear your mama or your grandmother, whoever, in the old churches, and they could sing all the way out, and you could hear them in miles and miles away. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. So it's sort of to reorient and recenter, and remember, as it's, because there's been a breaking, so we have to remember all these things. The other side is as a countertenor. They always think about, the countertenor comes from this concept of the castrati, which I'm not going to get into in Italy. If you know, you know. As a countertenor, I think about it further to the African eunuchs. And those African eunuchs who were the guardians of the Queen Candace, the Ethiopian Queen Candace, right? So they were scholars, and they were also musicians and singers. So this goes further back. And then we have this also in popular culture, Philip Bailey, Eddie Kendricks, right? So this is not uncommon. It's just the manner in which it's done. I think too, if we think about the founder of Kwanzaa, Karenga, who's bringing us these really great gems, I think in many ways we can talk about people who really intended to do some great work and has done great work, but also are also victims of that institutional violence that Jamel was talking about, right? So I think we do have to have a certain point of, we can hold people accountable. And I think too, right, like what you were talking about, and I'm gonna be done, I'm sorry, y'all. What you were talking about was about how did we put things together beforehand, right? If you look at most indigenous and African and ancient African languages around the world, there are no words for convalescent home, for orphanage, for old folks home, for all of these things. There are no words for them in those languages. They actually use the European word. Why? Because we had other ways to care for. It never got outside. It never got to the point where you had to have children out. It never got to the point where we have to put Medea and them up away. It never got to that point because the community ensured that it was taken care of. We didn't have to put you away. We knew how to deal with you to get you healed. But we ain't there no more because whiteness doesn't want that, because whiteness thrives off of somebody being lessened, somebody being cut, somebody being out. So this whole, yeah. I'm done.
Y'all have. I'm wondering
Can you hear me okay?
your role in making great community.
Okay. And so I think the question was about purpose. Yeah. And then we went into collective. And I think what Jamel said and what my brother here said, I think the word is now. And I heard it with both of you. What are we doing now? And how can we do it now? And from what Jahari said, no, it's not about the one person that has their name on it. It is what are we doing now for community? And so what am I doing now as your judge? I did start the first community court in the state of Tennessee. And community courts were started in New York first in 1993. And then we finally were able to start one here in Nashville. But the key thing about it, if you ever look at the logo, is that there's a guitar. The strings are not in the middle. The strings are on the outside, because it's community working together for the whole. And anybody who's been to an expungement clinic, you'll see that there are 20 plus resources there. The district attorney is there, the public defender is there, I'm a judge that is there, the criminal court clerk is there, and our ultimate goal is to free you, in the Bible it says, let my people go so they can worship me. And so what can we do to restore you? And today Nia is talking about purpose, but how do we restore ourselves back to being free? And so in my particular role and my purpose, I know that I was raised in Bordeaux, North Nashville, to be a leader in our community. And if I wasn't doing what I was supposed to do, I know one of my seniors or anybody my age would come and say, sis, you were raised to be a leader in our community and you're not doing what you were supposed to do for our community. I don't want them to ever say, you only come around when it's time to run for office. You only come around when it's time for you to get votes. No, you're gonna see me often. And I did get a little bit of scrutiny, a lot of scrutiny. The one thing was she's not focused on sitting on the bench. She's not focused on the judiciary. She's too much in the community. And I said, well, I am focused on my community and I'm gonna help restore my people. And in order to do that, I need to be in community to know what they need. Because I have to make the decision. And there are a few of you in the room that have seen me do that in the courts, in the community, on the streets, wherever we need to do it. And to me, that is Nia, that's purpose, that's collective, because I cannot do it if the resources are not there. I cannot do it if the hosts and the vendors and others don't come together. I cannot do it if y'all don't push it out on Facebook. Or it's not me really doing it, I'm just holding a role and doing my part. I love when I look out and it's over 200, 300, 400, 500. One day we started at 10 o'clock, we didn't end till 10 o'clock at night because people were calling, hey man, they expunging records. I thought we was done. Then you see a line of 200 more, then 200 more, then 200 more. And I was like, whoa, it's 10 o'clock at night, y'all. Hey, guess what? We got to do this more. And so we started doing it every 4 to 6 weeks. I said, oh, I'm too much in the community? All right, I'm gonna show y'all what that look like. And not only get the cleanups for people that have to do community service work, but you're gonna see me out there. Like I said, you're gonna see community out there. You're gonna see children out there and adults out there and family out there, because we have to show them that we all are the same, but we cannot do this without each other. And so, yes, some of us are leaders. Some of us have our name on things because that's kind of how that system works. But are we bringing everybody together? Are we in community together? I'm going to show up for you, and I also want you to show up for me. And y'all do show up for me, and I appreciate that, but I'm also going to show up for you. And I got to give a shout out to my cousin out there, Kia Jarman. You know, when I need her here and there to get through some of these tumultuous charted waters, hey, cuz, look, I know you ain't got time, but I need about 10 minutes. Because it's tough, because I asked my mom when I was a kid, I said, Mom, why haven't we created these things? Why hasn't this happened? Why hasn't that happened? Why am I just now, why are we, she said, daughter, you just need to keep going, don't give up. There's been many that have tried, and they get knocked down, they get tired, they get scrutinized, or they don't get reelected, or they don't get another chance, or they just get tired, worn out. And what they always will try to attack is your reputation, if they can't attack anything else. So then my daddy has always said, just make sure when they come, your paperwork's in order, your T's are crossed, and your I's are dotted, and we gonna get through it. So just keep moving. So that's what Nia purpose to me in this space as a judge means to me, and a community leader means to me. And I love being a community activist judge. Yeah, and I'm happy about what I do, because I love people to come up to me and seeing other individuals saying, you know what, because of you, I'm no longer homeless, or because of you and what you did and the judgment that you gave, and you calmed down the district attorney, you calmed down the public defender, you gave me a chance. My last statement, I will say, when I started a few of these courts, I would ask the individual that needed the judgment decision to be made, and I'll say, you think you can do this program? And the young person would say, well, let me talk to my attorney, and the attorney would come back to the podium and say, Your Honor, I don't think they'll be successful with that program. I said, well, why won't you give them a chance? It'll only be on his record for 5 years. I said, so you want this young man to have these criminal charges on his record while he's 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, whatever, and try to maneuver through life when he's in that moment of, I'm resilient, I got this, I'm trying to become somebody. And every time he gets a job, the 30-day check, you're fired. The 30-day check, you can't get hired. He gonna go back into the system because he's then a repeat offender to the attorney who said he can't do it. So you're gonna see the attacks happen when we're really trying to free people. But that's as far as I can go with that statement.
Yeah, I think Judge Bell, you touched on this earlier when you were talking about having a seat at the table and what happens with that. And we hear a lot about pull up your chair to the table and all that. But someone told me a while ago, and I want to say it was probably Kia. So Kia, really, we need to just pull up an extra seat so she can squeeze in here. But she and I had a conversation once about, it's about what do you do when you get into that room? How do you use your voice? How do you inform people about your community? And so when I think about just my time at the Northwest Y, it was very much centered in reminding my counterparts, reminding my colleagues, especially reminding, folks in the C-suite and the folks up there who make the big decisions, reminding them about the history, how vibrant this community is, just how great the Northwest YMCA is, and using my voice and not being afraid to use my voice and giving them that information in a way that is helpful, but also speaks on behalf of my community. I think I learned a long time ago, and I know you're gonna touch on this, Kelly. I learned a long time ago that I cannot be the sole voice, and that I can't put that pressure on myself. However, what I can do is be able to, as Judge Bell said, to go back to my community and seek advice, seek counsel, seek input, and be able to go and say, hey, I can't speak solely for my community. However, I got Judge Bell here that can come in and share about her perspective from the courts. I have Patrick over here who could come in and talk about XYZ, and creating that space for my community to be able to share and give that feedback, and also to accurately say what we need and what will help us to thrive. Because oftentimes, and I share this in the rooms that I'm in now, is that we don't need a handout. We need a hand up. Like, we don't need you to come out and, it's great to get 500 turkeys in the hood. Like, that's great. But however, we need generational change. We need things that are going to create these endless opportunities for us to remove those barriers. And so if there's any way that I can use my voice to do that and to elevate that for others, that's what I'm gonna do. And especially if I can bring in my brothers and sisters to the table to help me spread that message and to help me get that across. I think for me, that's where my purpose comes in. And when I think about the Northwest YMCA, that is something that I feel very honored to have been able to spread that awareness and to shine that light on what's possible. And because for so long we were told, no, they don't want that. No, that's not gonna work here. And I'm like, hey, listen, we gonna take what we got and make it do what it do, because we as a people, that's what we do. And once I can show you that we can make this happen, then to Judge Bell's point, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna show you. I can show you better than I can tell you. And so that, I think, for our community and for my purpose, for myself, and just how I feel I show up in my presence, is to do just that. I'm gonna show you better than I can tell you. So
thank you all. I appreciate that. And also, one of the things that I appreciated about this conversation is that Blackness is not a monolith. And so the different perspectives, the different roles that we all play, and the different levels of our engagement in the community. But one of the things I'm really thinking about, and it's kind of on my mind, I've been reading this book called Rest is Resistance, the Manifesto. Yeah. By Tricia Hershey. And she talks about how grind culture, this need to constantly go, do, create, next thing, and being in a system where you need 7 streams of income at all times. You got 4 jobs, and you got jobs and you hustle on the side, right? Because every day I'm hustling. Every day, so hustle hard, right? All the things. This is this thing. But what happens in the midst of the constant grind is that we don't rest, and in the midst of rest is where we have an opportunity to dream. And she's a bad woman, and so in our dreams, when we rest, we allow our bodies to slow down, our minds to do the work that. So we know that when we sleep, our brains process what has happened in the day. And when we allow ourselves to rest on a regular basis, then that processing becomes able to become out of the dreamscape into reality. And what she says is that when we don't give ourselves opportunity to dream, we don't have an opportunity to create the community that we are, the beloved community that we are to do. And so it's powerful. Get the book, follow the NAP ministry. That's it right there. That thing is very good. Very, 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 very good. It's amazing. I have to say this. She dropped the book and said, I'm going on sabbatical for 3 months. Do not send me anything. I will not, because she understands the need for rest and restoration. So my question is, as Sister Davis read 8 hours of bio for each of us, all the things, doing the thing. And I will say, as someone who works a 9 to 5, also pastoring a congregation, so rarely has days off. I'm putting myself. My question is, where do you find time for rest? Because the capacity to operate in purpose, you can't operate in purpose and grinding constantly. Because what happens is you begin to just be working, just work, and work. While it builds splash pads and starts internships for young people to learn what it means to be truly activists for the Black Nashville Assembly. They've been doing some things, you know what I'm saying? Y'all out there doing it, right? You constantly think about another community court and getting that done while making sure we've got families and kids and maybe and kids aren't necessarily biological, right? All the things. I'm wondering, what are you doing in your individual lives to find rest and recreation, so that we might dream and cultivate the beloved community? And to this time, I'm going to start on my left with my sisters. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll be transparent and just say that I'm a work in progress, an evolving work in progress. But I find I learn a lot from my peers because I have a couple of people in my life who are in this room who do a really good job and I will call them out because they don't even know that I admire them so much in this way. One of them is your lovely husband, my brother Rico, who taught me probably a year ago. He was like, listen, he's like, sis, I started doing this thing where he's like, I tap out for a whole weekend. He's like, every quarter, I shut it down for a weekend. He's like, I go out of town. He's like, no kids, no wife, nothing. I just reset and I go to this cabin and I reset. And I was like, he go in the woods and I was like, okay. And that was the first that I'd ever heard of someone, especially a black person, saying, hey, I cut it off. Like, see, he did
for the year.
And when he told me that, he was like, I schedule it for the year. He's like, I do it every quarter. He's like, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He was like, I don't care what comes up. Like, this is what I'm doing. And I'm like, that's nice. The other person I'll highlight, and we've mentioned her name a couple of times, is Kia, because Kia's her out of office email response is like, listen, I am out of office from December 1st to like January 9th. Okay. And she plays no games about it. She's like, I'm not responding. I'll see you in the new year. And that to me was like, wow. Like, wow. Because ultimately, the world is going to keep going. It's going to keep revolving. The work is still going to be there. But I also know by just looking at these two individuals, when I reconnect with them, I see how meaningful and how much it has transformed them. So for me, I have taken what they have taught me and have really, over this holiday time, I was like, you know what? I'm using the PTO. Like, I'm not gonna let it stack up. I'm not, it's because I think we get into this mindset of like, we gotta grind to the very last day of the year. Grinding all my life. And I even had to my husband gets on to me because he's like, you need to say no. You need to just say no. And I've gotten to the point where he has become this, and I love my boo, but it's gotten to the point where it's like this nagging little voice where it's like, I can just see him and hear him. And so I think for me, there is self-care in saying no. And there is self-care in not feeling the pressure of, I have to meet with every person that says they want my time, or I have to give my time to every single person that says they need it, and knowing how to set those boundaries for myself. And so I think finding that voice, finding that urge, finding that confidence and that courage to do that has been helpful. The last thing I'll say is about a year ago, I finally realized, like, I need to get a therapist. Like, I need to put my butt in therapy because there's just so much that we endure and so much that we wear on our shoulders. And you want to be all bad by yourself and take it on and do it. But then I realized, like, Facebook, Instagram is not therapy. And we struggle with that as a people of like, I'm gonna put all my soul on Facebook. And I mean, kudos if you do it. But I tell people, you probably need a therapist if you writing all these paragraphs on Facebook, you need a therapist. It's time. So I would say between therapy and setting my boundaries to really live in my no has helped me tremendously.
So I would agree with Jahari. I'm a work in progress, but this is the thing. When you're running for office, I can't be on sabbatical when I'm running for office. I just got done, literally. We just got done. And so I have told Dorsha that coming up this year, that it is my goal during the certain weeks that I don't have to be on the bench and presiding over a certain court, that I don't have to create another docket at the community courts. However, still making sure that that runs well. And then also when other individuals can do it and they want to do it, allowing them the space to do it when I trust that they'll do it the way that I believe it should be done. There are a number of judges that have come up to me and said, hey, I want to work with you with the community court, and I want to be one of your partners in that space. And so training those to do the work and do it the way that we intend it to be done gives help. And then also, when individuals do ask me, and I get called on a lot for a lot of different reasons, being able to share that with, hey, you know what, I can't do it, but my colleague, and calling my colleague and say, hey, I think you'll be a good fit for this opportunity. This is what they were looking for. I think you'll be good for it. Now, every now and then, I know I just have to do it. However, what I do to relax, I like to play basketball. So I will be outside in the backyard playing basketball for sure. Or I got a ball in my car. I may just show up at a parking lot and just dribble the ball. I promise you, I'll just show up and just dribble. I'll just show up talking to you. I'll just dribble the ball. But I like doing yard work. I love my yard. I love it, love it, love it. So whenever I'm stressed or something's going on, I may have a lot to do, and I'm like, Dorsha, I'm gonna go outside until I feel better. But I know that it's more than just doing yard work, but that's my happy place. It also takes a lot of time to do yard work. You can't just show up on Monday and not show up for months at a time. You really have to really give it a lot of attention. But then also getting back to my hobbies, because you're right. I told Dorsha the other night, I said, you know what, all I do is work. Everything I do is work. Even when I enjoy it, I'm working. So getting back to playing the piano, I like to sing, a lot of different things, and I'm just about to get back into it.
There's a word on the street that someone loves karaoke. I've heard.
Oh, we can do that any day, any day, all night. But getting back to the things that you like and my hobbies. So playing I'm nothing. I'm not quitting my day job. No. I'm not quitting my day job, but I'm decent. Okay, that's it. But you have to get back to your happy place, and no matter what that is. And I'm going to intentionally do it on the weeks that I know I can do it, and then try to grow and not add things to those weeks when I know I don't have to. I really don't have to. So answering the question with a no and then giving them a solution, I think will make me feel better instead of just a no and not giving them another person that can step in. So that's what I'm going to do.
So building an infrastructure that allows community to then do.
I'm building me a team. I'm building me a team of. Oh yeah, I'm a team player. So I'm building me a team to make sure that I get me some self-care. So 2023, and I'm gonna let y'all hold me accountable on Facebook. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna tell y'all what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna let y'all hold me accountable. Anyway.
First, before I start talking about rest, I do want to mention, and it's this thing this analogy about the table that's been talked about a lot. I think the majority of tables in Nashville need to be broken, burned, disassembled. I just think that is, and I think one issue is that there are tables. I think that is a problem. You know what I'm saying? And I don't get invited back to those closed door rooms anymore because I think that the invitation is an issue itself. And I also want to say, I just got hit up by one of my aunties who's watching online. I do want to say the people in this room who I do a lot of work with, like Chaos, Zach, my cousin Tara, my mom, my organizing partner Erica Perry, and a bunch of other folks, Theta, and a bunch of other folks in the room, I struggle with rest. Because when we talk about rest, and that's not only particular to Nashville, as we talked about before, like my family has been here since 7. We got here with the McGavics, with the Ingrams, with everybody who controls the city, but we don't have a thing. If you name the issue, my family has been through mass incarceration, everything. And so I struggle with rest because I feel Harriet's gun at my back. And so I also struggle with rest because of some material facts that Nashville is sitting in right now. If we talk about the city budget, I'm just gonna mention one for the sake of time. If we talk about the city budget, right? Last year, the city budget grew between 13 and 17%. Most people know why, right? We know that our elected officials are willing to move heaven and earth for tourists. So we know that our local budget expanded. Over 90% of that budget went directly to the police. So we have an issue here. So when I look at numbers like that, I have a difficult time with resting, knowing what that means for our next generations and our future and our kids that are having to go through that system. Thirdly, I also struggle with rest because I hope that with the Black Nashville Assembly, the only way that I can rest is that if somebody else can come into the game.
That's the point.
That's the only way that I can rest, is in an organization. My rest is with the people and at home and in organization. If I need to rest, I know that we have skilled organizers like a Erica Perry or a Theta Murphy who can come in and step in where I am, or we can just rotate it out however we need to. But I think that unfortunately right now, what I'm struggling with in organizing everyday people, because that's what I do. I talk to everyday working class Black folks, is that it's a perversion of nap therapy, nap ministry that is happening, that is demobilizing us. It's attaching us to rest in a way that is destructive, that don't allow us to organize with each other. So what ends up happening is, while we're sleeping and while we're resting and while we're enjoying that privilege, because that is a privilege, because all of us can't do that. Well, while we're enjoying that privilege of resting, our kids' futures are being robbed while we're resting. And so what I want to challenge everybody today is to join an organization, and joining that organization, picking a struggle, because the only way I feel personally that I'm able to front line and stop working with the people that I'm working with, taking a month off, is if there's another leader, another community organizer, another activist that can step into the role and continue the work going. And I'm resting to get back in the game. My friends got to hold me back. They like, it's not time yet, you know what I'm saying? But when I'm in the game, that's all I can think about. And so those are just the things that I struggle with through the idea of rest. I just want to say again that the subversion of the idea of resting, I'm not saying not rest, but I'm saying the privilege that comes along with resting is rooted in the destruction of our people, because it allows people to exploit us while other folks are sleeping.
Like so many of, like we've all said, we're all like works in progress on rest. And I think also, Jamel, to your point too, like our elders and our ancestors, we like a friend of mine and I, part of also how I rest is being in community. So a lot of how I rest, like I'll have something that comes up and I don't put it on Facebook. I'll see a thing and I'm like, I just gotta suss through this. I got to work through this. And I will call actually a couple people like my sister Kelly and Byron and some of my people I'll introduce y'all later. But I'll call them and I'll be like, yo, so I was thinking about this. Can you think about this with me? And this is the mess, right? And once we've gotten it through, it's out. And I was like, it's off of me. As the old folks say, get the hanks off of you. Or my mother would say, get that monkey off your back. So I have to like find ways of being in community to talk. But like when I think about our elders and our ancestors in their work, those who did this tireless work, right? Dr. King did not live long. Because yes, people took him out. Brother Malcolm did not live long. Yes, people took him out, but some folks don't live long because they've been working so hard. You know, in many ways, rest is a luxury. And so those of us who have the privilege to rest, you know, I don't think we should take it for granted. Like you got a little bit of resources, you got a little something, you got some time, take it. Don't, you know, because your ancestors didn't get to. At least over here, maybe before that. And when you talked about taking the resting allows us to dream, right? I think too, sometimes why I've had conversations with elders, others in my field or in community, in social and communal work, as well as the arts, and I'll say, well, we should do such and such and such and such. And some elders, not all, some elders are like, well, that ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work because we did that before, blah, 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 blah. And they ready to shut you down. But part of it is because they didn't get to rest and they don't get to dream no more. So we also have an obligation to take that rest, then find other people who are resting, get together with them once we come up from our dreams and from stuff and from what. Okay, well, you know what? Okay, I think we got it. Now we're gonna go back to the elders and say, hey, what y'all think about this? Well, I don't know, but you know, well, go ahead, baby. Okay, thank you. because we still got to get the permission, right? We still gonna do that, but you know, that's one of the things. And two, your body will make you rest. Right before I told this story when I was at my church in Baltimore a couple of weeks ago. I turned 33 last year. You know, 33, the Jesus year, right? It's all of this going on, and I'm like, I'm getting ready to sing here. I'm doing this, and blah 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 blah. It's all this crazy. It's this madness, and I'm sort of in a place of prime in my career, right? And I left my office at TSU, came out of the parking lot, went down the street, and I'm shaking uncontrollably, and I'm freaking out. And I feel like there's something hovering, like there's a spirit. There's a, you know, like, and because I'm churchy and I got the Holy Ghost, I'm like, it's the demon, it's demonic, it's under my, and that's shaking it. I'm like kind of speaking to tongues and get it out for me. I called my best friend in New York, and I was like, Kenny, he was a pastor. Like, no, my, come on. And he's like, Patrick, come on. And he's like, and I realized like, oh snap, I had a panic attack. I had a whole panic attack. But part of, and again, here I go being spiritual again. That's as one of my friends would say, deep and spooky. Part of the panic attack was the fact that like there was an anticipation in the spirit realm of the work that's getting ready to come, because right after I had that panic attack, the next day I get a phone call. In the next couple of days, I get a phone call from the Nashville Symphony like, hi, we want to have you do your debut the following season. Oh, I'm about to get this is why you're trying to throw me off. Okay. If I'm thrown off, I don't get these opportunities. So if I messed up the opportunity, I can't be back in the room, which means that a lot of the stuff that we've been building gets okay, that can't happen. So I gotta rest. So I made, and two, that's my best friend texting me too. That's so funny. See, Holy Ghost, ancestors don't make no mistake. They don't. The other thing is about saying no. Like I love this. I've been starting to say no a little bit more. I'm looking at Kelly. She knows. I've been saying no a little bit more. But when I say no, like you were saying, Judge Bell, I'm able to say, well, I can't do it, but I got 3 or 4 other people that can. Call this one, call this one, call this one. And also, even within the Crim Singers, Crim Singers, aka Wakanda Chorale, we, and there's Crim Singers in the room, I don't have to be in front. That's why the group is not called the Patrick Daly Singers. I've never wanted a group called that, because the whole purpose of what we do is to ensure that the village shows up. So we operate as a community, we gather as a community, we create as a community. Like whenever I have an idea, I'm like, hey y'all, what y'all think? Like, we like it. Well, actually we don't like that. Okay, cool, we change it around. Like that's how we do it. And there have been a number of things that we've done. I haven't been there, I hadn't even been in town. Can the Crim Singers go? Yeah, I'll put this one in charge, and she got it. Yeah, go ahead. Y'all need me? Actually, there's some stuff you don't even need to put our name on it. Like, it's okay. And recognizing that you don't have to be the face. I think sometimes, too, saying no means humbling yourself to recognizing that it ain't about you. So making sure other people got the opportunity and moving from there. And then the other thing I'll say is, and I talked about that, building so you're not necessary, building of that. So yeah, like we just got so I think about what I'm gonna do. I made it a point this year. I have planned so far 2 trips that have nothing to do with work. Now at the same token, I'm gonna put a little bit of work in there so I can write it off, because I'm not stupid. So when I make this trip, hey, I've already booked the flight. Hotel's already booked. Like, it is what it is. But when I go, hi, can I have a meeting with you? Great. Let's have lunch. Thank you so much. All right. Done. So I've. I mean, but they do it. Why can't I? Why can't we? So I made a point already. I'm taking these 2 trips. I got 1 trip. I'm going out of town. I'm putting a little bit of work in there so I can go and just be away and kick it. I got another trip where I'm going a whole week early to the next gig to kick it. I don't have an agenda for that. So when the gig comes up, Now I can be focused on the gig, but before that, I'm kicking it. Y'all, don't hit me up. Don't call me. I made it a point too. On weekends, on holidays, I'm not responding. I'm not responding to that email. If it was that bad, why are you emailing me? If you needed me, you could have called me. Oh, you don't need? Okay, yeah. Well, I'll get to that Monday at 9 a.m. Central Time. Because I'm in Central Time. Y'all be. I'm gonna wait. I'm not doing a job with y'all. No, y'all gonna wait. It's gonna be okay. Because the reality is, as my mother would say, well, when you die, they gonna cry, they gonna weep and wail, and then they gonna find somebody else to do it, or it ain't gonna happen again. So either way. So you just have to recognize these realities. Put yourself, because that is the resistance. Put yourself in priority, because yourself is in community, so that you can be good for the community. Last thing, you can't pour from an empty glass. So if I keep going out here and just pouring and pouring and pouring and giving and giving and giving, and I have nothing, then I'm literally dry. Somebody said die empty, and I was like, I don't think I should. I don't think I should. I should at least be like about half to like 3/4 full. I don't think I should. There should still be things coming out of me. Out of my mind, out of my progeny. Like there should still be things flowing even when we transition from this place. Like, no, like, so we just gotta take that time, and if you are able to engage in that luxury that is rest, so that we can be good stewards of what our ancestors and what the Creator has given us.
So thank you. That was good. I just gotta make a statement about on a justice level. And I keep going back to Bible, right? So we're thinking about these 7 days and this seventh day of Sabbath. But we also think about that year of Jubilee that never actually happened, but that reset. So year of Jubilee is every 7 years supposed to cancel all debt, return that which was, and allow for people to be able to start at an even slate. That we're all at that equity, that belovedness that happens, but work too hard to even. But those people worked so hard that they never got to the place where they were willing to see what it would look like if we actually did what it takes. In order to do Sabbath, you've got to prepare for it. And that's the part I think that's most important about what you're saying, Jamel. The work is important. It's got to get done, right? However, in order for us to rest, we have to prepare for rest through the preparation of the community, that you have other judges who can do what needs to be done to expunge records, to make people rethink about, to adjust the budget so that we're not giving more money to police that then cause to end up having to have people standing there in the first place. And in the process towards, if we're moving to, or as I hear you say, Jamel, that abolition, you've got to be intentional about that work so that when you rest, and I'll give an example. When I was in divinity school, we would gather together at the church, and we had when we were in East Nashville, there was what we called the family room, and there were a bunch of couches. And so my classmates, for finals, we would get together to study at first when we had tests. But by the time you move further into that master's program, we stopped taking tests and we're all writing papers. But we write papers together. Why? In the middle of the night. Because at a certain point, you're going to get exhausted. But I need you to go lay on your couch. But before I take my 30-minute nap, I'm going to tell you I'm going to set an alarm. Do not let me snooze my alarm too long because the work still has to get done. But I can't think it through. So what we would do, we would schedule our naps at a time so that you can't oversleep because our paper is all due at 8 a.m. Central Time. And so in order to make sure that everything is on time and is done to the best of our ability, we scheduled a time so I can even watch you. I can make sure you rest, Maria, Because I can watch. My work is to watch you rest so that I can do what needs to be done. And I've learned how you have done and put together Kwanzaa Nashville so that you don't have to do it every single time. Right? And then we can organize all the different organizations to make sure that it gets done. And then rest happens. But the work must not stop. That's the part. It's not that the work stops, but that we are rested so that we can dream a more beautiful society and cultivate it and have the energy not to get back on the grind, not to create more capitalism, create more capital, because that's the other piece. Sometimes we grind to re-rest so we can go make more money. But instead, that we can create it for the space that those who don't have the luxury to rest, that they might have a guaranteed income. And with that guaranteed income, are able to maybe close their eyes a little bit. And as old folks say, every closed eye ain't sleep. Every closed eye ain't sleep. But in that closing that we're able, so the babies are showing up. I hear them coming down the steps. So that's what we told them to bring the I am so thankful. I am so thankful for this conversation. I am thankful for the opportunity to consider how I do my purpose better, how I rest in that, and how I am cultivating those behind me. Because that's the other thing. I wanted to just say what was being said, right? What we were saying, like we don't sit here by ourselves. Whether we sitting at tables, whether we breaking tables, because I need some folks sitting. I need some folks who got sledgehammers. No. I need it all, and I also need some folks who show up who look pretty, whatever that means, but out here grinding for our people. So I thank you all. I'm so thankful for this time. And so and before I think right now y'all can stay here or y'all can whichever y'all want to do. You they're coming back in, and as the babies come to this is what we're gonna do. Children, as you all, I need you all to find the person you all came with and go to them. You coming to that, go to that person. He's like, I'm going on the stage. Come on. I'm gonna make. And as the babies find their adult, I'm going to give the microphone to Reverend Sandrea Tolbert, the executive director of Scarritt Bennett Center.
Habarigani. My soul is indefinitely just running over. It is indeed full. Again, we thank you all so much for coming this way. I would be remiss if I did not say thank you, Queen Mother Lynn Hayes, for gracing us with your presence on tonight. I'm going to start off with thanking Queen Mother. Then I'm going to move on to thank, and the elder, go ahead and thank Mother for gracing us and giving us permission. Amen. And then I'm going to go ahead and thank our wonderful panel for coming this way. Judge Bell, Patrick Daly, Jamal, Kim Magooch, and Jahari Matthews. Thank you so much for coming this way. Giving another shout out, thank you, Nia House Montessori, for partnering with us. Thank you so much. Creating the lessons and the plans for the children. We thank you, Miss Neely and Miss Anna Fote. I said it, amen. Then we want to thank, certainly not in any particular order, but really want to thank Maria Sis Hall. Thank you so much. And Kwanzaa Nashville for just entrusting Scarritt Bennett for, this is our first time doing it, right? This is our first time, so we've had 2 nights. And we thank you all for coming out to Scarritt Bennett Center for 2 nights. Last night was amazing for cooperative economics. You spent a lot of money. Y'all spent a lot of money. Y'all spent a lot of money. Y'all spent a lot of money. I don't know about me, but y'all spent a lot of money. Thank you, the Scarritt Bennett staff and volunteers. Thank you, Chef Jen, Whit, Michael, and Tech. Thank you. Thank you, all of the vendors and the community that came out last night. But before we go, we want to also let you know about some things that are happening here at Scarritt Bennett. So this won't be you've been here now. So you feel at home, right? You feel at home. Don't be a stranger. So we will have coming up for MLK Day, we will have events here. So make sure that you come out on, let's see, first is the 14th. Excuse me, let me go back in order. January the 13th is the Labor Council that will be here for the breakfast on January the 13th. On January the 14th, the Youth Council will be here all day. And on January the 15th, we will be hosting another powerful panel. And make sure you get a flyer as you're on your way out. The Women of Faith panel that will be here right back here in Harambe Auditorium. We will also have coming up for us, we will have Black Love Day on February the 13th as well. And there's all kinds of stuff that's going to be happening. So now you know how to get to Scarritt Bennett, 1027 18th Avenue South. You know how to go to the website, scarrittbennett.org, and find out about all that is happening here. But don't forget, tomorrow there is another day of a Kwanzaa with creativity, Kumbah tomorrow at North Nashville Arts Coalition, correct? One Drop Ink on Jefferson Street at noon, so make sure you be a part of that. But we don't want you to forget that, yes, there is indeed a blessing and a burden, but continue to make sure, as the kids showed us this afternoon, to make sure that you let your light shine. One thing about light and purpose, that it will always disrupt darkness, so that there will always be that beauty of the light, but there will also be the burden of the bent, because the light bends. And so therefore, you will have that burden. But as we have said tonight, don't give up in the burden. Rest if you may, but make sure that you get back, because there is indeed purpose on the inside of each and every one of you. And we, the community, are depending on your light. For somebody needs to see. So make sure you shine your light. God bless you. We want you to make sure you get some of this food on the other side, and don't be a stranger. Are there any other announcements or any other things that we need to take care of on tonight? We're good? Well, Harambe Circle. I thought there was one more thing. The Harambe Circle. Come on. So you'll definitely need to get up. Habargani. Where's the Watoto? The children, did y'all have a good time? Did y'all have a good time? I hope y'all had a good time, because we were in there kicking it. We had a great time. So we're going to form what is called a Harambe Circle. And Harambe in Swahili just means let's pull together, let's get together. So we're going to just form a circle on the outskirts of the whole building. So if you'll come just like this, Mama Lynn, Queen Mother Lynn, you stay there if you need to. If y'all need to stay there, there's no problem. So you'll come this way. How you doing, brother? Good. Habargani. Black joy. And get close. We're going to touch and agree, Ashe. Listen, I was over there standing on that wall. I hadn't been an usher since the 90s. At Kane Avenue Missionary Baptist Church on 12th Avenue South. I said, now I ain't been an usher in a while. That was good. I was standing that wall. Blessed are the doorkeepers, somebody. No, I'm just playing. All right. So Harambe. So Harambe means let's pull together. And what we do is we recite the Swahili term or the principle. And then, yes. Before you do that, they need a charge. Oh, you do need a charge. You are so right. Just kidding. So we were talking about, just some of the same things that you all were talking about. And in that, the 6 to 9, or really it was more like the 9 to 14, they have their own charge, which is, y'all know what your charge is?
Sinai, SJ, y'all know what to do? Okay, so they have their own thing. But for you all, as the theme of tonight was the beauty and the burden of Black excellence, I want you to get a piece of paper. I want you to write, because writing is fundamental, okay? Don't type it, write it. And I want you to address the letter to yourself, and you're gonna write yourself an acceptance letter, almost like college, right? And in that, I want you to write the things that you love about yourself, maybe some things that are challenging for yourself. But I want you to write it. I want you to keep it in a sacred space, maybe in a month or 2 months or 3 months. Come back and revisit it. What would your acceptance letter look like? Ashe? Ashe. All right, so we ready, Harambe? I want to get in a circle. I don't want to be all in the middle and stuff. All right. So I'm going to say the Swahili term, and then we're going to say the English term, and we'll say Harambe at the very end after Imani, which means faith. We're going to try to hold that Harambe up as loud and as strong and as black as we can. Ashe? Ashe. All right. So, Umoja. Unity. Harambe. Kuji Chakulia. Self-determination. Ujima. Collective work and responsibility. Ujamaa. Cooperative economics. Nia. Purpose. Kuumba. Creativity. Y'all ready? You ready? Imani.